welcome to episode 61, season 2 of Red Wings Rant. Brought to you by the Brothers of Discussion and the Hockey Podcast Network. Where tirades and impassioned pleas about your Detroit Red Wings finally have a home. Today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at the 2021 NHL Draft again, and we'll highlight a few possibilities at pick 22. That's right. We'll get a little bit more familiar with who's at the tail end of that first round, see if there's anybody we want to outsmart the rest of the NHL. If there's anybody that probably fits right in that mold of that 22 spot. Of course, we've talked about a couple of folks that might drop that far, and I'll highlight them in a second. But before we get into too much of that, as always, we have a little bit of business to get into. So let me jump into that in just a sec here. McGregor versus Poirier 3. It's all set for UFC 264, and DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC, has a knockout offer for this weekend's fight. DraftKings is offering 264-1 odds on a knockout in the first round during Saturday's main event. If the rubber match ends in a first-round knockout, you walk away with cash. Just pick the main event fighter you think will win by first-round knockout, and DraftKings Sportsbook will give you 264-1 odds on that fighter. That's right. Bet $1 on McGregor versus Poirier to win by first-round knockout. You win $264. There's no better way to put your MMA knowledge to the test than to put your money where your mouth is with DraftKings Sportsbook. Don't worry if MMA isn't for you. That's right, DraftKings Sportsbook offers great odds and promotions on basketball, hockey, there's baseball going on, and so much more. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN when you sign up to turn $1 into $264 when you bet on a main event fighter to win by first-round knockout. Place your bet and watch the fist fly this weekend. That's code THPN to turn $1 into $264 only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings. I lost my spot. DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or in Indiana, call 1-800-9 with it. All right. Like I said, we're going to be going into pick 22. As previously mentioned, we have done quite a bit of draft research. We've posted quite a few videos here. And we've taken a look a lot at pick 6, including, quite extensively looking at who's going to fit in that top 10. And Mike is here, my good brother. Kept him off the stream. There he is. Hey, Mikey.
Hey, what's going on?
You got to avoid all the business today.
Yeah. Oh, no. Matt, all my friends and family are putting their money down. Matt, they know the good stuff. What are we doing? DraftKings. Don't forget to bet on your favorite basketball team.
We already did it.
Oh, we already did it. No. Yeah. All right, we're already back into hockey. All right. Matt, I actually read some scouting reports today. What a day for me.
I wanted to discuss with you the idea too, and we're going to try and break this up into 2 episodes, no matter how long this goes. If we go 30 minutes,
how's the lighting look, by the way?
What was that?
How's the lighting look, by the way?
I like the drama. It looks like you're by candlelight right now, and you're penning. You were penning your novel about today's episode of AEW Dynamite. It's a dramatic look. I like it. I think you should go with this.
It does. It looks like I just finished journaling in like homemade paper with a boiled leather bound journal. I'm very, very proud of this look, Matt. Nicholas,
what is going on, Nick?
How are you? It's Wednesday. You know what that means.
Mike's watching AEW Dynamite.
We got Dynamite. We got Red Wing prospects coming up.
We got the Stanley Cup Finals are on right now too, but unfortunately, Matt he's got his baby schedule going. So there's there's a lot he misses. And Mike, I must say, I'm not in a sore mood. I hope I didn't rush you, but you absolutely can skip and join when you have the time, because I know my schedule is terrible. I mean, my schedule is so bad, Mike, right now that I am doing a cosplay on accident of Magnum PI. I've got the Hawaiian shirt. I've got the Tigers hat. Not on purpose. That's Tom Selleck, right?
Yeah, you got Tom Selleck. I thought maybe you were doing a Billy Butcher. He kind of likes wearing those shirts a little bit on The Boys. Just don't drop any C-bombs on the show. I hope that's not coming.
Absolutely not.
We're not getting that lenient on here. Okay.
Oh, I did get that right. Magnum PI. All right, cool. Clearly a huge fan if I don't even know my own references. All right, Mike, but what I did want to ask you, because you were doing your research today, and I agreed with you what you said earlier. How incredibly useless, for the sake of measuring a prospect, what they're doing in junior level, what they're doing in college, wherever they are, how incredibly useless is a highlight reel on YouTube?
Oh, yeah. I had a lot of literature I wanted to go through the past couple of days as we're trying to figure out who the Red Wings are going to get with their second first-round pick. By God, highlight reels are 1,000% not a useful tool at all. If some poor scout actually had to use a highlight reel to judge a player, I know that they can finish off wide open one-timers. I know that I can watch the tail end of a play that ends up a puck deflecting off them for a goal number 4 on a 5-goal season.
Yeah.
And then I might get one breakaway save if I look up the Kosa highlights. So that's about it. Not a super useful tool to judge, a player's ability to make it in the NHL. But luckily, the literature it is thick. It's something you would want a lamp like this if you're going to try and comb through the way people's ankles oscillate on their push as they're trying to show perfect form on their skating, which actually has a lot more depth as far as the research on that than I ever would have imagined. Matt, guys who don't have the right 90-degree angle when they push off, if they put their body weight down on the wrong spot, it literally ends people's careers. Not for injury, but they just never pan out to a point where they become a top 3, 6, 9, by God, top 12 NHL forward. So a lot of intricacies to go through, man. So I don't know if we're going to quite dig that deep on some of these guys, but it definitely looks like, skating might factor into a guy's ability to make it NHL. So I wasn't sure how you really wanted to get into this, but I know we wanted to start with the later first-round pick. I feel like it's whichever top defenseman is still available at 6, or if we go Wallstead, I think is another viable option, which I don't think people hate this year going with him, the goalie. But I think 22 is where it's a little bit more wide open since it looks, we're judging off so few games from the COVID seasons. So it's you might really luck out, or you might really bomb out. Just because you have so little game tape to go off of to make a judgment call.
Yeah, and what the deeper you get into this, like everybody's trying to do a mock draft of the top 5, and then they're like, "Here's my pick 6." Now you've got 21 picks. So it's really just trying to decode these messages of what's going on with these players, which I feel like we've done a pretty good job over the last month. But that, it's just, is this the type of thing that's going to work out for the Wingdings? And like timeline wise, is there someone that looks like they could be here a little bit quicker? I mean, like even mentioning Wallstedt and the way that he's propelled himself into the next league. If he's in the 14 range, then he's playing 15-year-olds and 17-year-olds, and when he's 17, he's playing adults. It's one of those. Then you go, okay, so he'll be here a little bit sooner than later because he just jumps leagues. That's what his MO is. So there's things like that we try to decipher based on all of this analysis. But yeah, I guess just to focus on pick 22 today, there's a couple of guys that could be around, and then there's a lot of guys that probably won't because the rest of the NHL has had access to these guys, and we're going to say, wow, what a great pick this would be at 22, and they won't even be around. But there's also one in particular, I think, on this list, and depending on if we break this into two parts or not, some people might even be able to guess who I'm talking about. There's a guy who probably, based on what he's done in the last year, should probably drop to round 2, but he was really great every previous year that it ranked him as like a top prospect going into this draft. Like he was going to go number 1. So do you take that guy based on the previous years, take away COVID? Do you take that guy at 22, even with this idea that he could drop all the way to round 2 because of how poorly he performed this year? So there's a lot to play around with here, but I think the first guy I wanted to jump into, and here's how we'll do this. We'll talk about where he's ranked, give you a position, height, weight, tell you who's a fatty, tell you who needs some more meat on those bones. And then, then we'll read through some analysis to see if this is, does this excite you at all? And then, are we going to get this guy at pick 22? Is there a possibility to get him in round number 2? We'll start with, not too thrilled about this. Mackie, Samoskevich. Not too thrilled that he went away from one of the greatest first names of all time to change it to Mackie. I got to say, as a Matthew, never once had I considered the nickname Mackie. And
Red Wings Rant, brought to you by Michael and Matt.
Almost makes me want to not draft him just because he walked away from one of the best first names of all time. Jesus, it took us 13 minutes to get to this point where we're introducing a prospect. All right. I'll run through the easy stuff. He's a center. He's 5'11". He is the fattest guy we're going to talk about today. He's 190 pounds. And I say that jokingly. But he's at the tail end of most of the rankings. We have Elite Prospects has him ranked at number 19 prospect in this year's draft. I mention all the time the consolidated rankings that takes everybody's ranking and throws it into
when you say the end of the rankings, you mean like where the relevant players end, and then we get to that next tier. Is that what you're kind of alluding to?
End of the first round is what I mean to say.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
This isn't my first drink tonight. Elite Prospects has him at 19. You've got FC Hockey at like 26, but overall, he's got a 45 in there and a 34, which is taking him out of the consolidated rankings from Elite Prospects, which ranks the top 32 guys. So he doesn't quite make the cut for the consolidated rankings. But here's why he's number 19 for Elite Prospects. Offensive buzzsaw, cutting through opposing defenders and stringing together highlight reel plays with relative ease. You don't want to miss him when he's feeling it. You give him the puck in space, he makes everything look effortless. He'll bend pass receptions into highly creative dangles around defenders. Top hand control with his stick, pushed out from his body, and quick twitch wrists to string it all together. He's agile enough to chain together and combine moves and dexterous enough to repair handling mistakes. So a lot of this is going to go into his puck handling ability. This is where, if you're talking about Mackie, this is what you're excited about. He's a center. He's going to be able to enter the zone on his own with that puck handling ability. I think that's number 1. And then the playmaking after that is the other bonus, I guess, of being so good with the puck handling. So with that being said, let me pull up. Let me pull up here. We got the Elite Prospects 2021 full ranking. We can take a look at some of the scores they have here and kind of better inform our decision. on whether or not we want to take a chance here. I think this is worth it. And what we're looking at here, again, this is Elite Prospects put out their full ranking of almost every prospect that is out there. This thing's like 500 pages long. Mentioned it in the last episode. High rank on passing, high rank on puck handling, high rank on hockey sense. And if you read through this whole thing, you'll see the top rank you can get is a 9. So there's some growth for all of these. But if you go through every single one of these pages, you're not going to find anything higher than a 7.5. So, there's no Lafrenières here. I am looking for a center, Mike. Somewhere in this draft, I'm not happy with any of our centers, and I'm kind of hoping with so many picks, we're going to luck out and find an elite center. This is where we start that. I'm going with Mackie, and I'm hesitating on saying his last name. But Mike, we talked about it. Larkin's not our number one pick for a top line center. So this could be a solution.
The way we might have to start looking at these picks is not necessarily if they're our favorites, but is it something that you think that he fills a hole that the Red Wings need filled? And it looks like if you do the homework, this is one of the leaders in controlled zone entries, and the Red Wings so often. When we would watch the games, they would kind of turtle on defense and just pray for, as few opportunities for both sides as possible. And then, potentially maybe we would have a game where we'd get a few more scoring opportunities, one or two than the other team. And by God, one or two more of them would go in. So I think Mackie would definitely kind of, help with that playmaking that we're looking for, because his strengths are, puck handling and passing and making plays, not necessarily goal scoring, but maybe if this is a guy that can, hook up Vrana, trying to get into the zone for, a gifted goal scorer like him, if this is a guy who can, kind of help set him up, this looks like one of his strengths. No, he doesn't have elite size, but he does have that elite, to the point, for this draft, playmaking ability. The only tough thing is when you gauge these, kind of make these statements, judge a player like this. I like try to look at the context. So he was playing on Michigan, which is an outstanding hockey program. And we already know that it feels like the whole, first couple lines for Michigan are going to get drafted in the first or second round. So just, with a grain of salt, I would just kind of, keep that context in mind about, how well Michigan is developing guys, and it could be system related.
You're mixing him up with Matty Beniers.
How am I doing that? They both played on Michigan.
Oh,
I'm saying that they both played on the same program.
You're right. Yep. It's just that is 1,000% my fault. I'm looking at all of his US HL numbers. He has not played he's not played a game yet for Michigan, so he'll be joining. But yeah, his last games were with the Chicago Steel. Sorry, that's where I'm messing up, because all of his numbers are based off of those games with the Chicago Steel, and then he'll be playing with Michigan. I guess hopefully next year, because he is listed as like part of the roster, but there's no statistics. He'll be starting. I got it right here. He'll be starting 2021.
Yeah, that was a good save. I think you just moved up the prospect rankings behind Kosa, so that was a pretty good save there. You got to remember not to have too many of those daddy beverages before you jump in. So I'm guilty of that as well. So my apologies. But yeah, I mean, he still does fill that role that we're looking for on the Red Wings, because we don't have a lot of guys who are kind of getting that play going offensively. And it just seems like a likely pick. Matt, would you be excited about this pick?
I think so, because this is one of those things. Like for me, I am desperately looking for centers in this draft somewheres. So I think a lot of people have put together these, somebody coming up in those first 2 second round picks, at least making sure something's happening in these first 4 picks. And if he's there, boom, cross it off the list, and you're good. And I know a lot of people are hoping we're going to grab a goaltender in the first round. So if it is going to be Wallstedt, I'm still I'm hung up on getting these skaters filled out before a goaltender, and I think I'm just becoming I'm like okay with Wallstedt being drafted at pick 6. So if that were the case, boom, like, you know, where are we going to fill out the rest of these forward spots? And I think if we're going to get a center that's going to have the playmaking ability, and he's going to be able to get the puck in on his own, and he's going to be able to create plays on his own, that's good. Now, the one negative we haven't highlighted yet was actually that he's not very physical. And it was even notated in the Elite Prospects rankings that he could be looked off the puck. You could stare at him in a particular way, and he'll give up the puck. So that's something right there. You know, you kind of hope that could be fixed. And I kind of look at a few of these guys on this list that we're going to talk about. They have problems that can be fixed with coaching, and I absolutely think that can be fixed with coaching. And we've seen, you know, nobody ever said that about Filip Zadina, but now we look at him as a fantastic looking two-way forward. So as he grows up, as he learns, boom, there we go. You could have a guy that at least will be better than, you know, being looked off the puck. And we have one more guy that is guilty of that too. But before we get to those, that previously mentioned issue for another player, we do have Isak Rosen that we want to talk about, who's listed at either side of the wing. He's 5'11", 161 pounds. So he's one of the lighter guys that we're going to be drafting. So you'd be looking for him to gain a little bit here. And I would come back to that point of who could join this team quicker, whether it be, you know, one guy or another. You got to think that the lighter guys are going to need to put on some more muscle. There's, you know, part of the development is actually going to include their body, because you can't throw a 160-pound guy out there and just kind of hope for the best, especially with a kid. So that, to me, drops him down a peg, or maybe I should say for Mackie that brings him up a peg, that he is a little bit more filled out, as the boys say. And for me, that's a plus. He's going to be ready to go a little bit quicker. So let me get back into this, because I want to go back to my notes and read through for Isak Rosen. Consolidated rankings from Elite Prospects has him at 19. So technically, I don't know if we want to say this, would be a steal at 22. He's highly skilled with strong skating, strong shot, and elite puck skills. Anders Eriksson is head coach in 2020. He's a true playmaker, very good technical skills, exceptional at reading the game. And Draft in Europe says kind of speedy forward that can shoot off the rush when given enough gap and still be first to the loose puck that may result. So, brag on his weight, but he's going into the boards to get the loose puck. So that at least tells me you've got some, you know, tenacity mixed in with high skill. And like I said, everything we're trying to do here is read between the lines. We're trying to decode these messages. What can you get from this guy? But ultimately, I mean, I just like the idea again of another forward. Like I said, he's playing either side of the wing, and 161 pounds. There's room to grow, but you can't teach 5'11", so at least he's not 5'7", even though Cole Caulfield would, you know, slap me around a little bit with the way he's been playing in the playoffs this year. But I think this is a shorter conversation, because I'm going to come back to the fact that this might be something that takes a little bit longer for him to get developed, just because of his size. And that tenacious play is fantastic, but it's one of those things that, to me, is going to cause a little bit of pause. But if we pull him up here on the Elite Prospects rankings, he's a B-level grade from the prospect perspective, and he's got some pretty good grades for puck handling, but everything is a little bit lower except for the skating when you're comparing Mackie to Isak Rosen. So skating's nothing to sneeze at. But I am a sucker for puck handling. But either way, I think if you're looking at one of these guys, you're basically just you're going to be getting, based on these, the words here, you're going to be getting a good playmaker either way. One looks to be a little bit faster. We can say that based off this here. So I don't think you're really losing either way. I think it's going to be harder to find a center, and that's kind of the position I want to focus on. And I don't know if you're taking Isak Rosen, if they're both available, if you're saying you're necessarily taking the best available.
The Red Wings have so many picks kind of in this area with the late first and a couple seconds. This is the kind of guy you can roll the dice on, where he has literally he has the skeleton of an NHL player, where he has the stick handling ability, and his skating grades out pretty well. The problem is that he's literally a skeleton. So what we're just looking for is, if you end up drafting 2 or 3 of these guys where they're, like fringe 6-footers, where they have, hunkered down in the rink after hours and just been working on their stick handling, that they already have that ability, which is, a thing you don't really teach as you get older. It's something you kind of adopt. And if you can skate, then, we could put you in the weight room, put muscle on you, put some meat on you. That's something, with training and, an investment, that's something we can do for you. So if, the Red Wings could, easily get somebody to help this guy eat some protein bars, beef him out a little bit. And, he would be fine. And that we have enough picks where we could take a luxury like this and, let him lean on those 2 skills that he's already got, and we'll just beef him up. So he's NHL size. So this is another one that I think has a pretty high likelihood, of Steve looking at it, in 3 weeks.
I added this next guy, and I completely agree too. I have to keep telling people too. Like I have people that I'll pick in my mock drafts, but I think this draft we're either lacking enough information or so many things are up in the air. There's a lot of guys I'm going to be fine with whoever we draft. I think I just have that thing stuck in my head of I want a center. So speaking of which, I'm going to talk about another guy who's not a center. We have Nikita Chibrikov up next. And, he's all over the place too on the rankings. And when we pull up the Elite Prospects rankings, you'll kind of be like, oh, yikes, that's pretty low. But Consolidated Rankings has him at number 18. And there's some people that have him ranked pretty high. He's as high as number 13, Nikita Chibrikov. He's a left wing and a right wing. So ultimately, winger, 5'10", and a little bit more chub than Isak. He's at 172 pounds. So let's get this up here so everybody can take a peek and see what I'm talking about. He's ranked 39th on eliteprospects.com. That isn't to say that is the be-all, end-all, but that obviously will tell you where some of the thoughts are for Nikita Chibrikov as opposed to anybody else we're going to talk about. But we still got some quotes. Chibrikov combines speed and skill to be an unpredictable and elusive winger. He excels at getting the puck up the ice and facilitating high-danger, high-octane offense. Notable puck control, Chibrikov is a smooth puck carrier that can maintain possession in tight spaces. This is that one's from Draft in Europe, but from 2019. So the one I want to grab onto is the high danger chances, and I at least see, and we've talked about at length all season, a need for this, right? I mean, you're talking about over a couple of years here, he's been a highly touted prospect, and there was never a moment to him where he didn't want to get dirty and muck it up, even with everybody seeing that he's got the speed, he's got the skill. So I like this idea that he's going to get into the high danger chances, which it's going to mess up your mug a little bit. You're going to lose some teefers when you get in there. So I'm happy to take a guy who's also got that tenacious style, but if we're going to be talking about a guy who's going to be elusive, and we've been focusing, or at least I have quite a bit, and the kind of people that excite me, if he's elusive, getting another guy that's going to be able to enter and exit zones through skill, through talent, And I think that's huge because it's been an issue the last few years, and coming back to the power play, and it's something we haven't mentioned yet this episode, but have in past episodes. You got to find somebody that's going to be able to get into those zones. And I know we have a brand new power play system that's going to be implemented at the start of the 2021 season. But I think it should be on the top of everyone's list. The only thing that's not on the top of my list is making sure that we get a winger in the first round. So again, that's kind of where I leave the conversation for you, Mike, is still looking for that center in my book.
Yeah. I'm not totally on board with Nikita. I think he's definitely going to be available for us. What they tried to sell us is at the under 18 World Hockey Championships. Was it Mikov, Shane Wright, and Connor Bedard? 1, 2, 3 were the top 3 scorers, and Nikita was number 4. So I mean, he had some pretty talented guys above him. Another guy that would have to just add some size to him, and I don't think wing is really a priority. We definitely, like you just said, I'd say centers, defenseman, and goalie. By God, at some point, wouldn't hate this one. I would. See this available maybe a little bit deeper in the second round, but if we're still talking about what we'd want to do with that first pick after 6, the late first, I would probably punt on Nikita here. I'd probably punt.
This actually might be a good time to ask you, Mike. I know we don't want this to go on too long, but do you think just with the 5 picks in 2 rounds, do we get away from we need a center and just kind of look at, you've got Drapes in the war room, just looking for the highest skilled possibility, whatever has seen, like you mentioned, his success when playing with the likes of Shane Wright. Do we just look for the guy that's going to, be able to play well with, not playing with Shane Wright, but in the same tournament as Shane Wright?
I would say that I think what you're getting at is, maybe not look for need so much and just best player available. But, once you get past, arguably the first, 9 or 10 picks, depending on who you ask, it just kind of the skill levels all are, kind of on similar wavelengths, and you're just deciding which flaw you want to ride with. And that's kind of where I wanted to bring up a prospect to you, just because I have a feeling he's going to be available at 22, and he's probably going to be available for 2, if not 3 of our second round picks, Matt. I don't know if you're buckled in for this one. Aatu Raty. Now, it's a tough one because, this was a guy, he wasn't like, he wasn't like just highly touted. They were looking at him as number 1 pick. Like it was going to be Aatu and then the rest of the draft. And this guy just totally went ice cold. His point production just, fell off a cliff where he was, like 33% of his games. And then he had like 5 in 35 games last season, which is kind of a big yikes. But my God, man, he's still got the size. He's still got that that really hard shot that, not a lot of people in this draft or, many drafts are going to be able to do. The critique now is that he just hasn't quite gotten to a point where he's made it happen quick enough where it can be sustainable at the NHL level. But knowing that Yzerman has all these, extra picks kind of in that same slotted area, I know that we want to look at best player available, but it could also mean we know Yzerman likes his reclamation projects, guys who maybe, fell down the ladder in terms of how other people, perceive their worth and giving them another shot. And I don't know if Aatu just, had his confidence drop a little bit. He tried to do a little too much to score, Matt. Maybe not necessarily at 22, but do you see Yzerman eyeballing this guy maybe at 22 or one of our second round picks?
I think if he's in the second round, this is something I would snatch up right away. It's one of those things like based on his performance right in the last year, you would see this as more of like a second round pickup, in my opinion. but he was ranked so high the years previous, I should say years prior, that you can't let him slip outside the first round. So I think, like you said with Steve, and I brought this up earlier, is like, do you want to play the game that I'm smarter than everyone, kind of thing? Like I see something that nobody else is seeing. He was supposed to be number one. I'm going to grab him at 22 because he's still sitting there. Of course, he could be gone before that too. Or, and I'm not going to put this as like, or do you roll the dice and see if he's available in round 2? It's more or less just, do you just let him go because you've seen him drop production wise, and you should be seeing these guys elevate their game. So to answer that question, I'm just going to remind everybody that we've had one hell of a year, a hell of a year and a half. And if you want to point to that and say someone should be able to play at a high level despite all that, I can respect that comment. But I think too, like and Yzerman has said himself, like, you've got a goal scorer, you've got a passer, it's all instinct. The kind of thing where we brought up before, teaching Zadina how to be a good two-way forward. That's the importance of strategy. That's the importance of, what you want to build in a culture of your franchise. That's where coaching comes into play. So I think if they see something that they can mine out of him, based on what they've seen in previous years, like, is the shot still there? Is the playmaking ability still there? The skates still there? I think absolutely they would fire away at that. But I don't know. This does fill my box, right, for a center. It's one of those scary things, and that's where I keep posing the question: do you want to play that game? Are you smarter than everyone else? And I think the Red Wings. I'll end it this way. I think the Red Wings, with 5 picks in the first 2 rounds, can play that game. They have some leeway to kind of say, all right, this guy was easy number 1 a year ago. He's available at 22. Boom, we're taking him. If it doesn't work out, we've got another 4 picks that we can see if we can pull one. All right, what did we say before? We wanted 3 or 4 NHLers. Hopefully, one guy out of this draft. We've still got plenty of spots that could fill in.
Yeah. 3 or 4 would be outstanding. I just think, I don't know if I would call it, and I'm not trying to, disagree with you, but I'm just saying that it might not necessarily be we're the smartest guy in the room, but if other teams, with fewer draft picks, have to try and make the most of, what they have, are they going to roll the dice on a guy who, kind of got cold, and hasn't quite had the numbers? So, Yzerman can maybe take that risk because he has that extra capital to, no pun intended, to Washington. He has that extra capital to, roll the dice on a guy like Aatu. So
that's the smartest point to be made in this whole episode so far. You can roll the dice because you have all those extra picks. I think that's the smartest take. That might be why it's an easy grab for Steve. You might not even. I mentioned before rolling the dice and letting it go to the second round. Why bother? Right?
Yeah. I'm going to throw one more name at you. And it's similar in that they're both risks, but for totally different reasons. Aatu, he kind of showed us early on, like, whoa, maybe this guy has elite, scoring ability. And he's got pretty good size, but it doesn't quite look like he's developing, or he's got that go engine. And that's where I wanted to throw Trevor Wong at you. So he will definitely be there at 22. It would probably be way too early to take him. This would probably be more of a second round pick. But just in terms of, the flaws that you see in Aatu versus the flaws you see in Trevor, Wong's negatives are not of his own doing. He's probably, he comes in, advertised as the most fearless man in the draft. 5'8", Matt, 154 pounds. He's roughly 2 golden retrievers in weight. But he's 5'8", but he skates really well. Really dynamic guy. Uses he's got to have a lot of skill to get any kind of positioning and get any kind of, opportunity to get a goal, because he's not bigger than anybody on the ice. But he just plays with, really great pace. The vision's really good. The defense, he just really commits to that. For me, just reading more and more about this guy, I know Red Wing fans, I think we did have a little moment with somebody, I would say maybe like Yuri Hudler with the size, but obviously Wong plays totally different. More of a cannonball on defense, where I think he puts a lot of pride into that. And he's such a full effort guy, knowing that the Red Wings, not so much this season, but in the, previous season or two, we were kind of worried about, what's kind of the feeling in this locker room? Do we have guys who are ready to, give it their all every night? This guy would have no issue doing that. So maybe we wouldn't be able to see him as, one of our top 6 players, but, he'd be a bottom 6 forward. And as some of our, I'm looking at you, Helm, players kind of in that vein, a little bit on the smaller side, all speed, all defense, start to get longer in the tooth. Maybe this is a spot where we look at Wong, and we know from what he's seen that at the very least, we're going to give a guy who 100% gives a shit. Where so many of these other players, it looks like, we're waiting for them to, develop, show consistency. Wong, game-to-game basis, always consistent, always a motor that never stops. Matt, where do you see Wong as a potential Red Wing draft pick?
I think this is the same game like I was playing with Mackie Samoskevich, is that probably more skill, clearly, with Mackie. But, a lot of people are ranking him, deep, maybe not deep, but in the mid-range of the second round. And I'm still sitting there going, well, I don't want him to get picked up by somebody else. So I'm taking Mackie. That's kind of where the interest starts. I think we could be safe, crossing our fingers and getting Trevor in the second round. I don't know, like in the same vein that you would risk it, right? To make sure you get, or not to make sure, but to test out Aatu Raty and see if we were right about him a year ago and maybe not so right about him this year. I would see Trevor as the second round pick. Now, if you're talking about where do I see Trevor fitting, in a roster, probably in a few years, I think this guy his journey to the Red Wings would be fan favorite in Grand Rapids as they make a run at the Calder Cup, and then just, turning into the guy who finally gets his shot. And if you're trying to round out like, a grind line type, I think Tampa Bay is showing us that you don't necessarily need a grind line, but you can have, 4 highly skilled guys that grind hard and can get you wins. But then there's Montreal that says, yeah, we can grind shit out against you. So where I'm going with this is that's where you plug in the tiny little Trevor along with Giovanni Smith, and there's your goddamn grind line. You got a guy that's going to be running at 100 miles an hour with a guy who's going to bruise the hell out of you. Who also has a motor that doesn't really quit, but that's what you're looking for with the grind line. You're looking to take those other, the other side of the fence. You're trying to take their top lines or their top 6 and break it up, and you're pairing them with your bottom 6, and you could just wear them down with, maybe not a shot on goal, but at least some puck possession, because you can't get these guys off the boards. So fit for draft second. I think we could, this is one of those where I'm okay if somebody drafts him, but if you took him, in one of those first 2 second round picks, that's exciting to me. And then team wise, absolutely pair him up with somebody like Giovanni Smith, so he's got some more muscle behind.
Kind of offset it a little bit, yeah.
Right.
I would just say is 2 more like comparisons I wanted to make. I know that Hoodler as a Red Wing is kind of an obvious one, but in more recent memory, with the whole Cole Caulfield fiasco, Cole, all 5'7" of him, we obviously whooping ass in the playoffs. The Red Wings would kind of get a redo on that and kind of see what our version of a 5'8" guy would look like. And then additionally, another name that keeps getting floated around, especially as this team tries to, manage its cap situation, would be Tyler Johnson of Tampa Bay, another 5'8" guy. So knowing that there's a little bit of interest there, knowing that, you could maybe get a redo on the situation with Cole, this would just be sacrificing either your second first or one of your 3 seconds, for a high effort guy who gives a shit in Wong. So I don't think it's that far fetched, but if they don't, pursue him with one of those picks, we could still be acquiring somebody like Tyler Johnson to, maybe get additional picks and then still get our 5'8" guy on the team. So, yeah. We'll see. I like him, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I think that's where this is going to get so interesting too. The deeper we get in the draft, and like I said, you can look at it as like we kind of fall in love with these guys, but I don't know if I want to keep, because it's not the same conversation. But I was talking about do you want to look like you're the smartest guy in the room, or is it like picking the best guy that the consensus of who's the best available? But with Trevor, it's so far outside of that. It gets so hard to measure. Like, when is a good time to draft a guy that could grade out to just be a bottom 6 forward, and how replaceable is that position? Based on, you could talk about based on analytics, but then if you're getting a grinder, how important is the word fearless? Like, you can get a guy that can rag the puck, but do you want to pass on fearless when you're trying to fill out your bottom 6? Do you want to go forward, into the playoff era that we're hoping is just a couple years away, and knowing that Trevor could be making a huge difference? Like, that's the kind of guy who makes a huge difference in the playoffs for you. It's someone to me that I wish you hadn't brought him up, because now I'm going to be super sad when I see him get drafted by someone else.
I mean, that's a flaw that, with all those picks, that's one I would roll the dice on.
I think wrapping this up, we had, I just realized I'm missing one of the guys I wanted to talk about, which is kind of a bummer. But one of the guys we have on the list here, another winger, Brennan Othman. This will be the last one we'll talk about today. He's 6 feet tall, 174 pounds. Consolidated ranking has him at number 22. So a nice, easy name to pick out there, as he'd be landing, if we looked at everybody's ranking system, he'd be landing right in our laps, because that's how it should turn out. High-paced attacker, precise, quick release, wrister, diverse rush patterns that fool even formidable defenders. That's from EP Rinkside. An advanced puck protector, cutting off defenders' recovery routes before working play to the inside. His hard shot and excellent release to get it off at his top speed is what separates him from others. That's from 2019 and hockeyprospects.com. So not anything to be too excited about with that last mention there. But Brennan, this is a guy that just kind of, with everything we've talked about with everyone else, I put Brennan in there because he's popped up on a lot of mock drafts, and it probably comes back to the fact that Elite Prospects consolidated rankings has him at 22. So I'm less excited about this. I feel like there's less going on with Brennan than any other guys we've mentioned, but it also works out to be a playmaker who's a little more physical than the other guys we've talked about, who should be, put a should on there, should be available at that spot, and would work out to like fit that role of like who do you pick up in the second round based on what everybody's seeing. Well, you pick this guy up, and you just go with, this is kind of going with that consensus. Who's the best available? Well, Brennan Othman at this point at pick 22, left wing, 6 foot, 174 pounds, 16 points in his last season. Played for Canada, got 6 points in 7 games in the World Juniors, the 18s. It just, it just kind of fits, right? It's just not exciting. It's not as exciting because the way that we talk about him isn't all about puck handling. It's not about all the skill that's being used. I guess like the descriptive words just aren't as exciting for Brennan, but it at least fits the whole, hey, who are you going to pick at 22? Probably this guy, because he's going to be sitting right there.
Yeah. Just from what I've been, reading about the guy, it's all about physicality with him. He gets credit for being one of the tougher guys that you can draft, especially at this spot. He grades out well physically, and from what what we're gleaning is that when he does play, not only is he instigating a lot of contact, people hate playing against him. So then, he gets the brunt attack of people, seeing Othman's number on the ice and they want to go hit him. And I know that, as far as Red Wings fans go, that would be a guy who I think it would be pretty easy for him to kind of move up in their hearts. He's kind of got that old school, why don't we have anybody who hits anybody? That definitely looks like Othman's MO. So I think that, if we're looking at Wong potentially, if we're looking at Othman potentially, these are two guys I think the narrative would be really easy to get Red Wing fans behind these kids and kind of root for their careers. Othman being the big physical guy, Wong being the small physical guy. So pretty easy narrative to get behind those guys. And again, it's skill sets where they're not really projected to be, top 6 guys that you lean on for playoff points or anything like that. But they both have that, positive impression they leave on the rush. Othman in particular, that's what he likes to do, is push the puck forward and attack as soon as the puck hits his stick. So, neither of these guys are going to be shy. Both like asserting themselves. So it wouldn't be the sexiest pick, but I think it would be easy to root for those guys as you kind of watch them climb up, the minors.
So I think we'll wrap up today. I know I'm getting sleepy. I finally got my countertops in today, so I've been up pretty.
I got my new windows.
Oh man, that's right. We both got stuff done today. It's kind of exciting, isn't it? To just walking around, you see your windows. We've left the house 3 times today, and every time I come back and we see the kitchen first, and there's the new countertops. It's so nice. Just the installers, when they're putting the windows in, they found 3 different wasp nests in my siding. So gross.
Very excited for the siding to get replaced here the next month.
Well, I am scared to come back now. Visit your house. Yeah. No wasp nests, thankfully, in our cabinets when our counters were replaced. Oh, you're gonna bring over the queen from just drop her in there. Well, it's all sealed up now, so you can't do it. So
fudge.
Yeah.
All right.
So with that, everybody, we'll wrap up this conversation. Let's get in there and watch the Stanley Cup Finals and see if the Lightning prevail. What's the score right now? 1-0. All right, that sounds pretty good for Tampa. It's probably over. If you guys want to hear us do some more research on any of these other guys.
Oh, and we lost Matt. Well, what Matt was trying to get at is got to check out the YouTube channel, Red Wings Rant, Brothers of Discussion. We got absolutely everything you could ever want. Matt broke down a lot of the top prospects that we'd be taking at number 6. And as you saw in this video, we're trying to get kind of the tougher picks in order here because, again, this is where the draft kind of peters out. You don't know, exactly. You're going to be drafting a flawed player this deep But yeah, that I don't know if you could hear me or not, but I was just breaking down. You looked at a lot of the top 6 picks, and what we're trying to do is figure out these tougher ones where the talent level kind of evens out, and you got to decide which wart are you okay to have.
Where are you okay to have it? Right?
Yeah.
You got your roster. Where's the then I just wanted to let everybody know. Just send us the comments. You want us to check anybody else out. This is the second time my camera just died as I'm wrapping up. But find us as the Brothers of Discussion on YouTube. Man, I am sweating bullets right now.
You look like you're using my lamp. What's going on? Is it hitting you, Matt?
Yeah.
Can you feel it?
Yeah. You can see it. It's kind of, I guess on this side. Yeah. A little bit of red. Find us at BOD Hockey on Twitter, Brothers of Discussion on Instagram. And we'll keep pumping out these videos. Hopefully you guys are having fun. And we'll see you next week.
Counting down 3 more weeks.
Woo! All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Have a good one.